All right, folks, what is up? This is One Big Bug, and I am confused. And I am bringing to you Euro Truck Simulator 2, I suppose. We are continuing on with our proving to be quite disastrous run in my own fault. Really. I think as long as we don't touch the brakes much like that, we'll be fine. Admittedly, we should be able to finish this run today. Hey, buddy, what's up? All right, that'd help. So I'm recording this on the back of the other video that I recorded, where I screwed up even more. And I really didn't talk about it much, but I am depressed. I really am depressed. Um, I went and I saw the Star Wars movie, and it was great. And things have been okay, but Jesus, really? Not neutral. The fuck? Okay. Makes total sense to have that lane end there and then do this. Whatever. Let me just get through this, and I'll continue. Okay. But I've been depressed, man. Trying not to eat, trying not to let my hunger get to me, trying to keep track of my calories and my food intake and all that. The Christmas season, you know? It's always been a bit of a depressing time to me. That's never changed. I guess my dad has stopped giving me a Christmas gift, and I don't blame him. He used to give me $50 in an Amazon gift card. You know, I don't blame him because I haven't been able to get him anything for years. And I've told him don't worry about it, and now he's not. But it would have been nice this year. It's like this is one year where it would have helped, but I'm not gonna get upset about it. It's about time he stopped, to be truthful. You know, I think about my wife. I definitely think about my wife. And I just got a message a couple days ago from my mother-in-law. Very short message. Hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas. And I found myself getting upset. I found myself getting, can you make up your mind where the hell you're going, you little shit? Please don't fuck me up. Please don't fuck me up. Thank you. Oi! Dude! He just kept moving the fuck over. And the main reason I was getting upset is because, as far as I know, my mother-in-law, my former mother-in-law, still has my wife's ashes. Over 2 years now, and she's still holding on to my wife's ashes. My wife's wish for her ashes were to be spread in the yard with her father's ashes. I was not allowed to have that closure, and I was not allowed to fulfill my wife's final wish. And I was told, well, Joy came to me and said, when you're ready, Mom, when you're ready. I'm pretty sure when you're ready was not 2 years later. I'm pretty sure when you're ready was not against my husband's wishes. Was not against when my husband, was not after my husband went home to Massachusetts. I am pretty sure because my wife always stood by me. Anytime her family tried to turn on me, my wife stood by my side. Anytime they tried to get her to leave me, she refused. Anytime they tried to get her to turn on me, she refused. She always stood by my side. She always stood by my side. Even in the end, when my mother-in-law was threatening to kick us out. You had 2 months to find a place, and I wasn't even allowed in the main body in the house. I wasn't even allowed to go out to the bathroom to shower. Even then, my wife was like, well, let's find a new place to live. My mother-in-law thought that my wife would stay to help take care of her niece and her nephew and whatnot. My wife was like, no, I'm going with my husband. To this day, she still holds on to my wife's ashes. And that breaks me up inside. It depresses me and it angers me. My wife deserves to have her final... Driving depressed and angry is just not helping this disaster of a run. It's not. I'll be glad when it's over and then we can get a fresh start on a new run. That's why when I'm in a 2-lane, I don't like to drive on the outside. And I forgot to move over. That's why. This is going to be a costly repair. This has been a costly run, but I still think I'm going to make some kind of a profit. Whatever. There comes a point where I just say fuck it, and I'm at that point with this run. Anyways. I'm just really angry and upset about that. And that's just the tip of the fucking iceberg. That's really the final straw. Because you see, I was never allowed to say anything. I was never allowed to voice my opinion or say how I felt or fight back or stand up for myself because I was never in a position where I could. Everything was always over my head. Even at the very end, if I wanted to get to the airport to make my flight, I had to keep my mouth shut. Because my ride, even though it was still my car, was my brother-in-law driving. My brother-in-law driving me to the airport, dropping me off. And if I had stood up and said what I wanted to say then, I wouldn't have got the ride. I had the money. I should have scheduled my own ride, in all due honesty. I had the money. And I had thought about it. A taxi or some other form of transportation. A taxi, or there's airport shuttles. Yeah, they're expensive. Would have cost me like $100, but I had the money. I should have done it, but I didn't, because I wanted to take. I wanted to take one last ride in our car. You know, that wasn't just my car. That was my wife's car too. I gotta get out of this lane. Just want to make sure that I'm not forced to turn here. That was my wife's car too. My wife had just gotten her Social Security settlement she had fought for a very long time. She had just gotten all the money that was owed to her from when she applied. We put a very large amount of money down on this car. The 2012 Scion. It was only a year old. 17,000 miles on it. Beautiful vehicle. Best vehicle I've ever owned. Just because it was only a year old. Only had 17,000 miles. Never had an issue or problem with it. It was an amazing vehicle. And she was so proud. Granted, I drove it off the lot. I drove it 99% of the time because my wife, you know, physically, she was hurt a lot. Her hands and her feet were always in pain, so she didn't drive a lot. But she did drive. And that's my fault? Now I am pissed because that trailer damage wasn't my fault. I had my directional on, I was moving over, and that son of a bitch moved over into me. God, this fucking run. This fucking run. These guys are basically bringing in money to make up for everything that's going wrong on this run. That's about it. But anyways, she was so proud. She was so happy. You know, we finally drove away with a new car, and it was our car. And we didn't have to worry about things going wrong with it. We didn't have to worry about things breaking on it. It was a year old, you know, 17,000 miles. It was an amazing vehicle, and we loved it. And to this day, it pains the hell out of me that I had to sign that son of a bitch over to my mother, to my mother-in-law. To my mother-in-law. It pains me that I had to sign it over to my mom. I should have found a way to bring it here. I should have found a way to bring it here. I could have planned for it. I could have saved for it. I could have done it. I didn't. I lived like an idiot. I lived like an idiot. It hurts so much. No, and I feel bad for my mother. She's been struggling a lot too. I admittedly hate my aunt. One of my aunts. I'm just gonna say her name. Fuck it, it doesn't matter. My Aunt Patty. I hate her. I hate her. To me, she has no redeeming qualities. She doesn't. She's an extreme alcoholic. I can't do that either. I didn't trust that truck not to pull out. Fortunately, he didn't. She's an extreme alcoholic and drug abuser. All of her kids that she raised, the 3 kids that she raised, has ended up in prison. All 3 of them. All 3 of her sons. The only child she has that hasn't ended up in prison is her daughter, and that's because the father took the daughter, literally, more or less kidnapped her to Florida. Somehow got away with it. All 3 of her sons are violent drug users, drug dealers. How violent? We're talking they've been in shootouts. Okay, I turned Skype. What the fuck? I turned Skype down. Really? I turned Skype down. I'm sorry about that. I turned Skype volume. Sound like Skype turned off. I don't get it. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care. God, I don't know what the fuck's going on. My speed's creeping up way too high here. And I apologize with the way I feel right now. Don't you even freaking dare. With the way I feel right now, I'm not parking this trailer. I'm pulling in. I don't have time for it. Here's your trailer. Goodbye. I'm gonna go fix the truck. Hopefully throw an upgrade or 2 on it and just get the hell out to the next run. It sounded like my Skype shut down, which is unusual, but whatever, I'll deal with it. anyways, talk about my Aunt Patty. She has done nothing but take advantage of anyone that's shown her kindness. In particular, my mother. My mother has done so many things for her. I can't count how many times my mother has taken in my aunt because my aunt has ended up homeless. And in my eyes, deservedly homeless. In other words, she put herself there. She knew what she was doing would land her homeless, and she would still do what she did and would end up homeless because of it. My mother would take her in anyways. And my aunt has stolen from my mother not only items of value but medications. Things that my mother has given my aunt has destroyed. My mother gave my aunt an $1,800 living room set that my mother wanted. I don't know why. I remember this clearly. It was a blue queen sleeper sofa and a blue, and this is when they were new to the furniture world. The recliner sofa with the hideaway. You know, now it's common to see them, but back then these were very new, with the recliner on each side, the drop-down little table, hidden console in the center, and the drawer down bottom at the foot area. My mom bought it, had it a year, and decided to give it to my aunt, and ended up getting some used furniture, which I never had a clue why, but okay. It's my mom's choice. The furniture that she gave my aunt, the two couches, didn't even last, I think, 2 months before they were completely ruined. Covered in dog piss and chewed up by my aunt's dog. Totally destroyed. At a yard sale, there was this, I believe it was a Chevy or Oldsmobile station wagon. It was actually kind of a tricked out station wagon. It looked really nice. And these people were doing a silent auction. You write on a piece of paper what your bid is, and whoever put in the highest bid would get the car. And this is when my mom had money for something. I forget. I think my mom got some kind of small settlement or something. My mom used to like going to yard sales. There was only one other bid in the jar. So my mom managed to sneak a peek at the bid that was in there, and I think somebody bid like $200, so my mom put in like $300, I think, and nobody else bid. My mom won, and the wagon looked really nice. It was red, had the the fake wood panel, and somebody had put like really nice rims on it, and it was all chromed out lining, and it looked great. Anyone would have loved to own this wagon, including somebody who had just gotten his license and would have loved to have a nice looking car to drive back and forth to school with that would have landed them in a decent spot, especially only paid $300 for it. No, gave it to my aunt because your aunt really needs a car. Car did not even last 2 months before the grill was smashed in, and there was a huge hole in the gas tank because my aunt would drive it home drunk every night and drive it up onto a nearly I think it was a foot tall sidewalk. And ended up being trashed within 2 months. And my aunt sold it to a junkyard. Chris, hey, don't you do that again. I can't afford you to be costing me money, man. You need to be making up for my mistakes. Another time, my mom had this really nice little station wagon. It was an older vehicle. I forget what it was, if it was a Subaru or what it was. And my aunt wanted to borrow it. My mom was like, she wanted to borrow it to go and see a boyfriend. My mom was like, no, you're going to fight with him, you're going to get upset, you'll be drunk. And my aunt promised, no, I'm just going to go to him, we're just going to talk, and that's it, I'm going to come home. And so she goes, we don't hear from her a while, next thing we know, we get a call. And she says, look, we talked, we patched things up, things got going, I did get drunk, I'm at his house, I don't want to drive your car while drunk. So, what the... Man, that's the third time in this run that traffic has just switched lanes while I've been over in the lane. It's starting to piss me off. You know, is it okay if I stay here? My mom was like, fine, go ahead, stay at your boyfriend's. I'd rather that than, I'd rather you do that than drive my car drunk. Okay, fine and dandy. Can I just go through here? Nope. It's alright, we didn't go too far. So we can just pull in behind this guy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Anyways, this run's almost done at least. The next thing we know, at somewhere around 2 o'clock in the morning, phone rings. It's my aunt. And she's in hysterics. I think it was my aunt. It might have been the cops. But I think it was my aunt in hysterics. And long story short, my mother's car was 35 feet distance from the shore. Yes, I just said shore. Into a lake. My aunt had managed to go airborne to pull this off. I was only in second gear. My boyfriend and I got into a fight and I couldn't stay with him any longer. We should have known that was going to happen. That's originally what happened in the first place. So she got in my mother's car drunk and took off, and while apparently in second gear, drove my mother's car through an intersection, a T section, mind you. Drove my mother's car through a T section, launched it airborne, through a tree that was about, God, I don't know, 3 inches around or something like that. Fuck you, Lone. It was a good sized tree. Snapped the tree in half, basically, and then proceeded to fly another 35 feet out into a lake. Is it any wonder why I don't like her? The first time my mother took her in when she was homeless, I was still a young teen. I forget how young, but I was young. And my aunt, when she came over, took my room. I took my sister's room. My sister stayed with my mother in my mother's room. Now, you figure, good graces and all, if you want to go out to a bar, and there was a local, not exactly local, but whatever. If you wanted to go out to a bar, fine, you go out, you get drunk, you come home. If you hook up with somebody, because you're staying at your sister's house with her 2 young kids, mind you, my sister is 4 years younger than me, and I was like, I think maybe 13, 14 at the time, something like that. I don't know how old I was. I was young. You figure if you hook up with somebody, you go back to his place. Uh-uh. My wife, my wife, God, I don't know. My wife was on my mind, is why I said that. My aunt would fairly commonly bring home a gentleman and promptly screw him in my room on a very noisy bed. So even if they were quiet, the bed wasn't. And my sister's room and my room were right next to each other with a very thin wall. Here? No, there. Okay. I know this would probably be an easy back in, but again, thank you, fuck you, bye. Reasonable. Yeah, it's fine. We'll get our last point long distance so that we can start getting our ADR. And once we get all of our ADR, we'll get our econo driving. What's our new upgrades? Mirrors. New light bar. I may get this light bar. Side skirts. Tires. We're going to go check. Yeah, we're going to go check some stuff. And I don't need to set GPS for the nearest shop. I know where it is. I could go to the right here. It's probably faster, but this is a recruitment agency over here, and I want to pick it up. God knows how much we're going to spend. You're kidding. In order to get this agency, I'm going to have to pull in here. Yeah. I think we'll be okay if we do a hard turn. We can just... Hello. Because I needed 10% damage. Fuck you, officer. Yeah, that would land me in jail right about there. I'd probably lose my CDL or be paying some really heavy fines right now. But thank God for simulation. And normally I'd be more apologetic or upset with myself. And you can trust I'm going to be very upset with myself, but I am just so damn salty right now. No. This way. You think following a GPS would be easy. It's not. I make these same mistakes while driving for real. Yeah, Iveco. Cool. Alright, let's see how bad this is. 6,000. I'm actually surprised. Alright. Does it make any difference? No. But I don't want the 39,000. So let's just cancel out of that so that we get our paint job back, just to be sure. Nothing in chassis, nothing in motors, nothing in transmission. We could change the oh well, that's just the other side. We don't want that. Paint job, so we want the outside. I do like this light bar because it puts the horns down and the lights up. So I do like that. I don't care for these. There were new tires. This is better with gas. Not as good in the rain, but a little better in noise. I will definitely take the better in gas. Definitely take the better in gas. What the hell is this? Oh, cool. I didn't know I could do that. Or should we go like a light blue? Oi, kind of like the rest of the truck. Like that. Yeah, we'll keep that as a preset. And then the rear tires, of course. Use preset. Use preset. There we go. And our side skirt. All right. Painted mirrors. And I think that's everything. I'm not, well, let's look for the next job in case I don't do the Jazzy Cat thing. Let's rest first, which is around here somewhere. Okay, it says I can rest here. Hell with it. All right, let's just look for our next one. I won't take it. We'll just look for what we're going to take if I don't change. All right, so here we are. 100,000 e-cats. No, it's not what I meant to do. This is 100,000 as well. That goes up into Ireland. This stays in the United Kingdom. This is 98,000 and goes up into Iceland. That's actually pretty cool. That's 3,100 in ferry versus 300 and 1,000. And this is 180 in ferry time. It actually goes up into Finland and is a heavy trailer. Even if you take 1,000 off 100,000, even if you take 1,000 off 100,000, you're talking 99,000. So it would be between these three, and this is only $300, 300 euros for the ferry, and it goes up through the UK. So I think that's the one I'm going to take. I'm going to take the cars at 8 tons. If I don't do the Jazzy Cat, which I'm probably going to. We'll see what happens. But, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to talk a little bit while this sits in the background. You can admire the truck while I talk. This is turning into part blog. But yeah, that's been my aunt. My aunt has been very much a user all of her life. My mother has given and given and given and given, and my aunt has taken and taken and taken and taken, and that has never changed. My aunt does give a little bit from time to time, but more often than not, I feel like there's an ulterior motive behind it. Um, you need 1 point there, dude, and you need a point there, and then we can go into it. All right. Like my aunt got my mom a new cell phone that my mom used for a little bit. Um, so that was nice as a gift, but only because my aunt had gotten some settlement money. You know, my sister-in-law in Hawaii was the same way. When she would get money from something, like tax returns, yeah, she'd treat people, but for the most part, she always just took care of herself. She would spend money to the point where her mother had to keep bailing her out. I don't know how many times my mother-in-law had to pay for my sister-in-law's car or didn't get my sister-in-law's share of the rent. It was the only time I felt sorry for my mother-in-law, was when she had to deal with my sister-in-law. That's the only time I felt sorry for her. So, anyways, uh, my mother invited my aunt over, not for Christmas, even though it was kind of brought up. It's like, yeah, fine, you know what? Whatever. You want to bring her over for Christmas, bring her. Basically the week before Christmas. My mother was trying to confirm her coming over, and I was going to go get her. And the night my mom finally did get hold of my aunt to talk to her, they got into an argument. And so it is guaranteed that my aunt is not coming over for the holiday season. And I'm not going to lie, for me, one, I don't care. I actually smiled a little bit. Oh, thank you. She's not coming. I don't have to deal with her being here. But that does not mean I don't feel bad for my mother. My mother is upset about it. I wish my mother could let go of my aunt, much like I let go for a while when I had to, of her and of my father and of my family in general. Not so much because I needed I needed to let go of them, is that I needed to take care of me. I needed to get myself into a better place in life. And it took me a long time to do that. Now I'm in a somewhat better place. I'm in a manageable enough place where I can get along. And I it's really hard to explain, but my mother does not need my aunt in her life anymore. But my mother has this thing. She's my sister. She's my baby sister. And it's like, but she's the one that keeps putting herself in these situations. She's the one that keeps putting herself there. She's the one that keeps doing this, and you keep coming to rescue her. You took in her kids when they were taken away from her. My aunt had her kids taken away from her and put into a foster home, is how bad things had gotten. And my mother, while disabled, took them in. One of the conditions my aunt had to get her kids back was to sober up, stop drinking. So what's the first thing she did? What's the first thing she did? Got a job working at a bar. Well, that went over well. Her kids would have been better off letting be given or given to foster homes or adopted. Seriously, they'd have been better off. There was no need for my mother to take them in. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I understand my mother's reasoning. I understand she loved her nephews, but my aunt needed to be able to fail without somebody catching her all the time. And that's exactly What happened? No, I'm not rearranging my couch so you can lay down. You want to lay down, you have your bed here. My dog. She's looking at me like she wants me to straighten up the couch for her so she can lay down. I'm like, no, you lay down on your bed. Go lay down. And that was the problem I had with my father for a long time. My father would always bail me out when I needed it. And I needed to fall down completely. I needed somebody to not bail me out. I needed to be able to get on my own 2 feet and face my mistakes as I made them. I needed to not be rescued every time something went wrong. And that's what my aunt needed. And unfortunately, that's never happened. My mother has always been there to rescue her. So my aunt never learned. My aunt never learned, and she's never paid the price for her mistakes because my mother has always bailed her out. And it's really sad, you know? It is. It's sad. I feel bad for my mom in some cases, but I'm still glad that my aunt's not coming. I have a hard time too that both my girls are so far away, you know? At least I have my mom here for the holidays, but I'd love for one of them to be here, not be more or less feeling alone. I don't know why this Christmas feels different than other ones. Christmas is, for a very, very, very long time, not meant much to me. For a very long time. If you needed somebody work during Christmas, I volunteered. You need somebody to work during New Year's, I volunteered. Hey, yeah, I'll work. Christmas Day, yeah, sign me up. Go ahead, I don't care. Want somebody to come in New Year's Day? Sign me up. I don't care. I didn't care. Really didn't spend time with anyone. I'd get an occasional card from my mother or my dad, maybe a gift, maybe a little bit of money from my dad. That would be about it. And I was fine with that. Now, I don't know. This Christmas feels different. I just wish I had somebody with me. Somebody I could fall asleep with Christmas Eve and wake up with Christmas morning. Anyways, folks, that's going to be me done for this episode. I'm glad to be out of that hellish run. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. My frustration with it and how I've been feeling in general, of course, played into just making more and more dumb mistakes and doing more and more stupid things. So, as you will, you know. But other than that, I'll either be taking the cars on the next run or I'm going to have the Jazzy Cat trailer mods installed, and I'm going to have the Pro Mods trailer pack removed. We'll see what happens. But until next time, it's going to be one big bug. I'm going to be signing out. I'll see you then.